Salutations and good morrow everyone, welcome back to another grounded update video for update 4.3, and today we are going to be talking about some more of the weapons in the game. This is part 2 of the 3-part series that has to do with all the weapons that are in the game, where I want to provide you guys a walkthrough of the different things in the game, how to craft them, and what I believe would be best and why you should build different weapons that I'm talking about in each video. So let's hop into my inventory to talk about today's weapons. Yes, we are talking about spears, bows, and also club type weapons. This one is a little bit more near and dear to my heart after the recent update. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Pebblet Spear. Okay, the Pebblet Spear is a basic spear. Okay, it's super easy to make. You do not need a workbench to make it, but it is your first weapon that's going to assist you in fighting things like an orb weaver or taking on things that are inside of the pond with ease, because you're actually going to need a lot of those resources in order to actually explore the pond. So having some Pebblet Spears is actually a huge bonus to you. What I also will say is that they're really easy to make. So a Pebblet Spear, super easy, 2 sprigs, 3 plant fiber, and 1 pebblet. If you can't make that in the beginning of the game, you're going to have a little bit of a problem throughout the rest of the game. So I would say make 2 or 3 of these before you go out on your explorations, because not only are they able to be used as a poking device, but yes, you can also throw them by holding R. You actually enter a throwing state and you can actually throw them into enemies. But moving on from the wonderful Pebblet Spear, we're going to be talking about the Stinger Spear. Now, this is the tier 2 spear for right now, and the tier 2 spear in the game is the B Spear. You could get a rotten one of these in the standard gameplay right now, because obviously you're going to need a B Stinger in order to make the full version inside of the game, which you will need a workbench in order to craft. You go over to workbench tools. The Stinger Spear is going to take 1 B Stinger, 5 B Fuzz, and 4 Silk Rope. Now, this has since been updated. It's now 5 B Fuzz instead of 1 or 2, so that lets me know we are getting closer and closer to an actual release. But you get a rotten one of these that does not do as much damage, and has a little, and this still has no stun, but it is inside of the mouth of the T-Rex, inside of the pond, right here inside of the pond. You literally jump on down into the pond, literally right here. You drive straight down, and there it is. So you guys can grab yourself a Stinger Spear there. It is the rotten one, but it still does the trick. Once again, this can also be thrown, and it is super beneficial for you to have one of these in your inventory as well, because they're going to start doing a lot more damage, especially with one of the perks that is inside of the game, which is the Spear perk. I believe it's this one. No, that's Sharpshooter. Javelineer, sorry, right here. Ranger's greatest allies. You reach out and stab your foes from afar. Spears are increasingly deadly in your hands when thrown. So this gets up to 40% more damage with your spears, so it becomes super helpful. But what I will say is that the B Spear is going to also kind of become a how would you say it, a legacy item, or a prestige item where you don't really need it. Why? Because they've released the other spear already as well. That is the Bone Trident. Yes, this is a spear. It is a tier 2 spear, but what I will say is the damage is higher on the Bone Trident. The stun is higher, and the speed is exactly the same. It's a hydrodynamic bone weapon that excels at underwater combat. It also excels at everything combat. Okay, guys, this is one of the best weapons in the game, if not the best weapon in the game now. It is faster than the Pebblet hammer, the Mint Mallet. It is more deadly than all the other daggers in the game, and also the spears in the game. And also it does stun as well. You can swing this thing wicked quick, does a good amount of damage, and stuns. I mean, there's not really much more about it. And with the combination of that spear skill, it really becomes a super versatile, super deadly weapon that I always keep on me now, and I appreciate having with me whenever I'm doing anything in the game. Also, it looks cool. Let's just face it, guys. It looks really cool, and I enjoy that about it. Okay, so those are the spears, right? So we got 3 spears in the game. They're fantastic. I love using them. But like I said, a lot of these, they're used for throwing, right? But after you throw all your spears after a while, you get kind of tired of throwing spears, and maybe you want to use something that's a little bit more accurate. And yes, that is when I bring in the integration of the bows. Yes, we have the Sprig Bow. The Sprig Bow is stupid easy to make. When you come in here to craft it, you go right into your normal tools, and the Sprig Bow is 3 sprigs, 4 Nat Fuzz, and some crude rope. Stupid easy to make. Anybody can really make it, and it's a very basic bow. Let's just start with that. It's super basic. I don't really enjoy this bow very much. I tend to hold off on using a bow until I get the insect bow. I wouldn't suggest making this bow. It is kind of a waste of materials, even though it's super easy to make. So I wouldn't really use it. But the one that I do use, guys, is right underneath workbench tools. Yes, I use the insect bow, which is 2 spider chunks, 2 spider fangs, and some silk rope. And this is incredibly better. It's a high quality bow made of sturdy chunks of various insects. I don't like that they say various insects because technically it's all made of wolf spider parts. So it should just say made out of a wolf spider. But the damage is significantly higher. It's double damage. And then when you couple in all of the other arrows that you can get inside of the game, which is the normal arrows, the venom arrows, the lure arrows, the gas arrows, which is one of the most powerful arrows in the game, as you guys have seen from some of my other builds, that you can use that for area control, and you can use this to take out many foes in the game. And then if you guys are facing off against one item, you have feather arrows, a fancy arrow crafted from a sleek crow feather, bits and strands of spider web. So this is the strongest arrow in the game. This will actually increase your damage by 50% with your bow, tested and true. But they're hard to make and they tend to break when you shoot them. So be careful with feather arrows. I stick to my gas arrows. They're better for me. They're better for my playstyle. But with that comes the sharpshooter perk, and a film crawls across the surface of your eyes, allowing you to focus with deadly clarity, deal increased damage with bow type weapons. Once again, guys, 40% more damage, okay, with your bows. Super helpful. With a couple other things as well, like coup de grace and maybe your ant annihilator perk, you could start wiping out ants in one shot with a bow. So it becomes increasingly more powerful as you use it. Plus, they've also given you guys a very specific, for all of you bow users, as you guys know, they've given a very specific hat to you guys, which is this wonderful marksman cap, which is crow feather pieces. But what this does is it ups your bow attack another 30%. So it makes it so you're doing that much more damage with your bow, and makes it so you're doing just dumb amounts of damage with every single arrow that you shoot. And this does couple with the gas effect that's on your bow, because technically it counts as a ranged weapon and it counts as that arrow. So super helpful for all of you guys who want to just get out there and start learning how to use a bow build. This hat plus the insect bow plus all those arrows that I showed you really are super helpful. That's why I said screw the sprig bow. Yes, it's good in the start, but let's face it, if you're going to face off against a wolf spider in the beginning, you're probably not going to be using that bow. You're probably going to be using something more like your mint mallet and stuff, which we'll talk about in another video. But moving on to the last topic I wanted to cover in this video, and that is club-like weapons. Okay, what to say about club type weapons? I don't use them anymore. I just don't. I use hammer type weapons, I use spears, I use bows, I even use daggers. I don't use these clubs. I don't find a use for them. They're good, cool weapons. Once again, legacy, legendary, not legendary, but prestige weapon just to build and put on your wall to say, hey, I built one, right? Put in an armory to make it look cool that you got all the weapons on the wall. Cool, awesome, that sounds great. But what I will say is the spiky sprig and the ant club leave a little bit to be desired. They're slow swinging. Their damage isn't the best. I mean, it is some good damage, but they're slow swinging. And the stun is okay, but let's face it, if you're gonna use a melee type weapon that does blunt damage that's going to be doing stun, just use the mint mallet. It's not that hard to make. So sticking with your spiky sprig, talking about how to make it, yes, it's super easy to make, and it's a good stun weapon for the beginning of the game, but you're not ever going to be fighting anything in the beginning of the game that you need to stun. So it's a weapon, it's a weaponized sprig with thorns on the end, literally thistle needles, which you need to make arrows, so don't waste those. 3 sprigs and 2 crude rope, not really needed. So if we go over and we talk a little bit more about the ant one, guys, the ant one, you do require a workbench in order to make. Damage is pretty good, but you need 4 ant parts, 2 crude rope. That was good English there, Sim. And then obviously 2 ant mandibles, which you need to take out the soldier ants in order to make this. And at the end of the day, if you're taking out soldier ants, you probably should use those parts for your armor so you can make your building armor, and not talking about things that are inside of the game for weaponry, because yeah, you don't need it. You don't need this weapon. I'm being completely frank with you guys. If you want one of these just to say you got one, don't waste your time even making one. Just run all the way over to this part of the map, right over here inside of the hedge. Right here, there is a cave that has a rotten ant club in it. Just go get the one from there. You don't need to waste your time making all these extra items, because at the end of the day, they're just not needed. Those two club-like weapons, they're nice, but they're not needed. I don't see a purpose for them in the game at the moment. You can throw them if you want to, I guess, because they're easy to make. But like I said, there's way better throwing weapons in the game. There's way better blunt weapons in the game for use for stunning. So that is all the time I have left for this episode, guys. Please let me know what your guys' favorite weapon is down in the comment. That way I know what you guys like. And maybe I'll do a combined video with you guys a little bit later on that says, hey, this is what the community's favorite weapons are and why. Because I'd love to know what your guys' favorite weapons are and why. Leave me a like on the video or a dislike. Let me know whether or not you like the video. And if you leave me a dislike, please let me know why. Also, you guys subscribe to turn the bell notification to all. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.